If you've ever looked at a map of Melbourne's tram network, you've probably noticed this very thick chunk of tram routes coming up from the southeast and spearing through the CBD. This is the Swanston Street and St Kilda Road corridor, where a total of 8 tram routes come together, sharing a double track line through the city, making it, apparently, the busiest tram corridor in the world. In this video, we're going to take a look at how this remarkable operation works, what infrastructure is provided to cope with the extremely high frequency, and the variety of trams you can expect to see on the line today. The busiest section of the busiest tram corridor in the world is from Melbourne University, down through the CBD to the Arts Centre. This is the bit with all 8 routes, namely routes 1, 3, 5, 6, 16, 64, 67 and 72. During off-peak times, trams on each route run on 10 or 12 minute frequencies, meaning on average there's a tram every 85 or so seconds in each direction. Frequencies increase during the peaks, resulting in a tram roughly every 70 seconds, so if we include both directions for the purposes of tram watching, that's close to 2 trams per minute. Because of bunching caused by traffic lights and other traffic-related factors, the trams aren't evenly spread out, so in reality it's common to have a couple of minutes with no trams, followed by 3 or 4 coming through in quick succession. And of course, unplanned delays can result in extreme examples of this. While filming this shot, I recorded a very unusual 10-minute gap between trams heading north, while 11 southbound trams rolled past during the same time period. Like most traditional tramways, Melbourne trams follow each other on line of sight, just like cars, so it's possible for them to run very close together. So let's take a look at the route itself, starting from the top end at Melbourne University. This is where 6 of the 8 routes terminate, with only routes 1 and 6 continuing further north. Terminating so many trams at a single location is a major logistical challenge, as time has to be allowed for each driver to change ends, visit the facilities, and await their scheduled departure time. The stop features a large island platform, long enough to fit 2 or 3 trams depending on type, in either direction, and is partly sheltered by these architecturally interesting but not especially functional diamond-shaped roofs. At the northern end of the stop there are 3 sidings, all located between the 2 running lines. These sidings, usually referred to as shunts by the tramways, are used as required to terminate trams, and provide a place to lay over before departing. While each shunt generally holds 1 tram at a time, it is possible to fit 2 short trams in each one. The terminus is equipped with signals, with a new upgraded system installed in February 2024, and a display shows arriving drivers which shunts are currently available. Drivers of terminating trams normally operate the points electronically from the cab, or in the event of a failure, it can still be done manually using a points bar. If all 3 sidings are full, there's actually one more place a tram can reverse here, using a crossover just around the corner in Elgin Street. This layout is a pretty effective way of terminating large numbers of trams, although small delays can still result in trams building up pretty quickly during the peaks. From Melbourne Uni, the line runs downhill on Swanston Street towards the CBD. While trams don't share a lane with traffic here, there's not much separating trams from cars, and as always with this arrangement, there's a constant risk of motorists making dangerous U-turns. About halfway down the hill is another crossover, providing another location to reverse direction during a disruption. After crossing Victoria Street, the line passes the city baths, curves to align with the Hoddle grid, and enters the Melbourne CBD. This is the junction for another line that runs down Victoria Street, and in contrast to Swanston Street is one of the least used parts of the network. This was the main terminus for the Swanston Street routes up until 1996, when the operation was moved to Melbourne Uni. Today, no regular routes use this line, but it runs for about 350 metres down Victoria Street, where it joins up with routes 19 and 59 on Elizabeth Street. It currently only sees occasional use for depot transfers, diversions, or special events. Back when this was the main terminus, tram movements were controlled from this building, the Franklin Street signal box, from where a signaller would coordinate incoming trams, allocating them a position to terminate, which was done using one of 3 crossovers, one next to the box and 2 more around the corner in Victoria Street. While out of use for nearly 3 decades, the Franklin Street box is still in place and a very recognisable local landmark. As I was writing this video, Yarra Trams announced a plan to realign the track here via the Swanston and Victoria Street intersection later this year, which will free up the land next to the signal box for a small public park, which does seem like a better use of this inner city space. The line then runs past its second major university, RMIT, before crossing La Trobe Street, which carries Route 30 in the city circle. We then arrive at Melbourne Central, one of the busiest tram stops on the network and the interchange with Melbourne Central Underground Railway Station. Trams between here and the other end of the CBD are always packed, despite the very high frequency. Hopefully this will be eased slightly when the Melbourne Metro Tunnel opens in the near future, which will see frequent high-capacity trains running underground and following the north-south route of the tramway here, although it's still going to be more convenient to jump on a tram at street level for short journeys, and the free tram zone will encourage that too, so only time will tell how much of a difference this will actually make to passenger traffic on Swanston Street. South of Latrobe Street, Swanston Street is car-free, used entirely by trams, pedestrians and cyclists, all in extremely large numbers. At Bourke Street, the line crosses routes 86 and 96, running past the most well-known car-free part of the CBD, the Bourke Street Mall. The line then passes the Melbourne Town Hall, running down to the next major intersection, Collins Street. Here, the corridor crosses routes 11, 12, 48 and 109, making Collins Street the busiest tram line crossed by the busiest tram line in the world, which I guess makes this the busiest tram intersection in the world. Combining the 8 Swanston Street routes with the 4 on Collins Street, you can expect to see a tram every 20 seconds here on average during the peak. From Collins Street, the line continues past the site of the old City Square, now a construction site for Town Hall Station on the Metro Tunnel. There's another crossover here shortly before we reach the southern end of Swanston Street alongside St Paul's Cathedral. The line then emerges from the gloom into probably Melbourne's most recognisable location, the intersection with Flinders Street, where we cross routes 70 and 75 and the City Circle again. This intersection is surrounded by Melbourne icons on all 4 corners, namely Flinders Street Station, Federation Square, St Paul's Cathedral and Young and Jackson. After crossing Flinders Street, trams arrive at the busiest stop on the entire network, located between Flinders Street Station and Fed Square. A huge number of tram passengers interchange with suburban trains here and the stop is always packed. Nearly all passengers heading north can just catch any tram given they all go to Melbourne Uni, but heading southbound can be a little more complicated, and there are usually several Yarra Tram staff on hand to help passengers board the correct tram. It's here somewhere, depending on which map you look at, that Swanston Street becomes St Kilda Road, which crosses the Yarra on the beautiful Prince's Bridge, the current iteration of which opened in 1888. Just beyond the bridge, the line briefly splits into 3 tracks, with the middle track being a siding known as the Arts Centre Loop. This is mostly used as a convenient spot to stash broken down trams, which can take refuge there while they wait to be recovered. Next to the Arts Centre Loop is, unsurprisingly, the Arts Centre, with the spire being another well-recognised Melbourne landmark. Next door is the National Gallery of Victoria, and these are both served by the Arts Precinct tram stop. Just after this stop, the first of the 8 routes leaves the corridor, with Route 1 turning west into Southbank Boulevard. It used to be a big problem that Route 1 trams waiting to make the turn would hold up trams on the other 7 routes, but this was solved by making some changes to the track layout. The points for the junction were moved further back, providing a dedicated place for turning trams to wait without disrupting the St Kilda Road main line. Trams are then able to pick up speed a bit, running down the middle of the gently curving road, with the Royal Botanic Gardens along the eastern side and the Shrine of Remembrance forming an imposing backdrop. Just past the shrine is the stop formerly known as Domain Interchange, which has been completely rebuilt as it becomes part of the new Anzac Underground Station, the last connection with the Metro Tunnel along this route. The new stop is a very large island platform which can fit up to 4 short trams on either side. The entrance to the Metro Tunnel station is going to drop down in the middle of the tram platform, creating a direct platform-to-platform interchange between the 2 modes, something Melbourne quite remarkably doesn't currently have anywhere else. Tram Route 58 joins here coming out of Park Street, briefly increasing the total number of routes back to 8 again. For the moment, Route 58 runs down St Kilda Road for about 600 metres before turning east onto Toorak Road, but once construction at Anzac is complete, it looks like this line will return to its original pre-construction route along Domain Road, although there still seems to be some ongoing debate about this. The track has been laid for the junction leading into Domain Road and some overhead is already in place. Curiously, the junction layout connects Domain Road with Park Street only. There's no way of accessing the main line up St Kilda Road. Once it's moved onto that alignment, Route 58 won't have access to the main platforms here and will instead have its own platforms on Domain Road. Down at the current junction at Toorak Road, the stop has 3 platforms, allowing left-turning Route 58 trams to get out the way of other trams, similar to the junction with Route 1 we saw earlier, and it's not clear what will happen to this platform if the 58 does return to its original alignment. The line then continues straight down St Kilda Road, slowly losing routes as they peel off to the east. 72 heads down Commercial Road, the 6 heads down High Street, with the remaining 5 routes making it all the way to St Kilda Junction. I'm not going to describe what happens beyond here because this is really the end of the main corridor, and I've already done it in another video, which you can check out later. With so many trams running on this corridor, it can obviously be quite chaotic if there's a disruption, especially an unexpected one. But it is possible to make some diversions to keep the service running. Trams can skip a small section of St Kilda Road by using routes 1 and 58, and you can also do a big diversion via Route 58 on Latrobe Street. However, in practice, these other lines simply aren't set up for that amount of traffic. So in reality, a small number of routes will usually be diverted, with others being terminated at some of the intermediate crossovers. This is a huge benefit of Melbourne using double-ended trams, which can easily reverse direction in the middle of the city. A lot of European and North American systems use single-ended trams, and when I was in Prague, I saw what happens there when a busy route of single-ended trams becomes unexpectedly blocked. The routes on the Swanston Street-St Kilda Road corridor are operated by trams and tram drivers from 3 different depots: Melbourne, Glenhuntly and Brunswick. And under normal circumstances you will see 4 types of tram running on the corridor. Routes 3, 64 and 67 are operated out of Glenhuntly depot using entirely high-floor trams in the form of the Z3 and B2 class. Melbourne depot runs routes 5, 16 and 72 as well as part of route 6, and uses a mixture of Z3 and the low-floor D1 class, which are a 3-section Siemens Combino. Brunswick depot runs route 1 using a mixture of Zs and Bs, and also the other half of route 6, to which they contribute some large 5-section D2 class combinos. With only the D1 and 2 class trams being low floor, there's still a long way to go before this corridor is fully wheelchair accessible. However, the overall high volume of trams means you usually don't have long to wait before a low floor tram comes along. Despite my skepticism I mentioned earlier, the opening of the metro tunnel is expected to relieve some pressure from the corridor, and it's expected that some tram routes will be altered to run through other parts of the CBD once the tunnel opens. Philip Mallis has made a video about these changes if you'd like to learn more about that. Additionally, as these short Z-Class trams are progressively replaced with the brand new G-Class in coming years, the average length of trams on the network will increase, which will make it harder to run so many trams on the one street, especially when it comes to the length of platforms and sidings. So it's quite possible that Swanston Street might lose its claim to the world's busiest tram route in the near future. I'm going to leave you with a short time lapse showing some morning peak action on the corridor, and thanks for watching.